Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the real one. Wow, it's been a while, but I am happy to be back because this is called the real one. Let me be and honest, it's been an interesting time off. I've just been really busy because from second year to third year, honestly, was not expecting the jump, not even just academically, but it's just been a lot to think about because now I really need to be thinking about what I want to do next in life, not just academically, but actually in life. So that kind of took a toll of my time, but I'm happy to be back. So yeah, guys, just keep praying for me and sending positive vibes, as always. Um, but yeah, as talking about being real and authentic, I just wanted to talk today about how important it is to be authentic and honest to yourself all the time. Um, and I think being authentic, it comes in a journey. It's not something that happens in one day. It's not something that just happens after a month or after New Year when you're like, okay, this year I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Being authentic is a process, is a journey that comes a lot with healing, understanding your past, understanding how you need to deal with your past, and how the person that you are now is a result of the things that you have experienced. And I think it's an amazing journey, actually, as hard as it can be, because it takes a lot of being uncomfortable a lot of times. It's just an amazing journey because at the end of the journey, you become so confident of who you are and so bold that you don't fear anymore what people say about you. You don't fear what people think about you. You don't fear. And don't get me wrong, like when I say don't fear, it doesn't mean that you don't feel that emotional. Oh my days, I'm nervous. That adrenaline is gonna be there most of the times, but it's just not strong enough to stop you from doing what you want to do. So I think it's just amazing for that because it just helps you to just work with so much like empowerment. It just gives you the understanding that you can literally do whatever you want to do in life because you have nothing stopping you. And this is not to say that I am at the end of the journey. It's always a process because I believe that in every season of your life, you are a different person, and not because you're someone that switches, but it's because different seasons requires a different version of you. Because this is how also like things like cancel culture will not get to you because you know that as you're speaking with confidence because you're bold in who you are and you're owning your own story. And I think for me, like this journey, like I feel like we start this journey early, anyways. I think from nursery, primary school, you're always trying to find yourself, but I think it really that click in my mind really started. I think when I was uh 14, 13. And for me, it's because like the biggest I would say like experience from my past that kind of shaped my story and my life was experiencing like racism from a very young age. Like growing up in a place where not many people look like you can be challenging, and it can build you or destroy you, because you don't have examples, you don't have people that represents you, you don't have a system that understands you, and it's very easy for your emotions to be invalidated most of the time because people don't understand how you feel. And also, it's very hard to understand who you are when you don't have people that have been able to find themselves at the end of the journey talking to you about how to find yourself. And because yes, like for example, my parents are from Ghana. They've come from their own experience, their own journey. I was born in Italy. Being like Italian Ghanaian is a different experience for just being Ghanaian like my parents. So definitely they were not able to understand everything that I was experiencing, and I wasn't able to understand everything that they were experiencing. So I think is a journey that I kind of had to figure out alone because if I felt offended a certain way or not offended a certain way by certain things that I was hearing from outside, or I didn't have anyone to compare myself with. I could complain to people, but if the people didn't look like me, they didn't really understand what I was going through. So that kind of made it harder for me to really kind of understand myself and really understand who I was, and being encouraged and empowered by that. And I think when I started to really understand that now there was something wrong, that I was doing it wrong, that I was in when I was 13, and I went to this church youth camp, and there were so many Ghanaian Italians. And for me, guys, that was my mind just opened, because I was like, wow, they were speaking Tree, they were speaking Italian, they were speaking some English, like, and they were so free and confident. Some of them were even speaking the Italian dialect that in my region, and I was like, wow, so I can be both black and Italian at the same time. Wow. I was so shocked. And it was like, wow. Because if you know me now, you wouldn't believe that. But I actually didn't even start speaking, like actually speaking my mother tongue, so Tree, from since age 13, 14. After the youth camp, I was like, nah, I can speak my language now. Like, it's actually not like I'm not different because I speak my language. Do you get it? Like, I think that moment was when I realized that I could be Ghanaian, I could be Italian, both of them at the same time. That I didn't have to fit in anymore. That I didn't have to try to be someone anymore. That I didn't have to hide my hair or try to make my hair straight. Like, it was just life changing. Honestly speaking, life changing. Um, and that's when I realized now, like, I really need to start picking out the things that make me and really embrace them, and really make sure that I work with them with confidence. So before that youth camp, I was trying to hide the fact that I was black. I was trying to hide the fact that I ate differently from my friends. I was trying to hide, I've always been very confident about where I come from, but not, it's not always been confident like I was with outside people. Like, I've always had like a connection with my mother roots, with Ghana and everything. I've always liked it, but it's never been a thing of me trying to like let people know that I was different, like let people know that I was also from Ghana. It was just me, like a more personal thing. But since then, I was just like being more open about it. I'll be able to answer to my mom in Chi when she would speak to me in Chi publicly, because I wasn't trying to hide the fact that I have I speak another language at home. So yeah, like, it was just so beautiful. And it just made me feel, as I said before, like, it just made me feel that I didn't have to hide anymore. And so that's when I would say, like, this was the point where like my journey of like being authentic to myself really started. That's when I started questioning like everything I was doing, like even things like, I don't know, my hair, or the music that I listen to, the language that I speak. And it wasn't a thing of anymore me trying to fit in, basically. And then, like, it was interesting because you might think like, obviously when you're authentic equals a confident, but before getting to that confidence, it just comes with a lot of uncomfortable conversations and a lot of uncomfortable situations, because it's not that from one day to another you're gonna feel comfortable acting a certain way or being comfortable just speaking about your culture that you've been trying to hide because you didn't want to like look different from other people. um you need to force yourself to get out of that circle. Like, I had to force myself to have uncomfortable conversations and tell people that I knew and I loved, that, for example, what they were saying was racist in my opinion, or they made me feel uncomfortable, or they used a specific language that they were using was racist towards me, even though they didn't think that it was. And this is something that Gabby before wouldn't have done. So it comes with a lot of uncomfortability, but it's so much worth it, because you just start embracing your difference. So before, the things that I was trying to hide that made me different, like, I don't know, other things, they just became a thing where I was empowered. Like I really like enjoyed being different. I really loved speaking about my culture. I literally started having a conversation about culture, speaking to them about Ghana, a country that I've never visited, but I was still speaking about it. It just became like I was so much happier. And I think when I moved in the UK, it was just like a continuation of what I had already started in Italy, like a journey of just me finding myself. And I think that was a different journey though, because in Italy, like I started a journey of like embracing my culture and who I was. But when I came here, I had to also embrace my personality because we can all agree that mentality in Italy is different from the mentality in the UK for many things. And I had an Italian personality and I came in a UK environment and I had to fit in. So again, another I had to fit in, that's what I thought. Anyways, and I had to understand later on, like, no, Gabby, don't do the mistake that you did before in trying to fit in and hiding what makes you different. Embrace your difference, and if you have a strong personality, embrace it. Obviously being respectful to the environment, to the people that you have around you, but I really had to remind myself that I had to embrace what was making me different. And in that case, it was my personality, it was my humor. Italian humor is very different from the British humor. And even like the way like Italians are just very like more relaxed, I would say. From my perspective, you can argue with me. But anyways, so I really had to deal with that as well. And I think it was good because I just came in a place where I had to also understand what I like about myself, what I don't like about myself, the things I want to improve as a person. And I think that's when I really realized as well that when we talk about finding yourself, it all start from values. Because each season requires a different Gabby. Because obviously it's different. The Gabby from secondary school is not the same Gabby from university. Why? Because it's a different season. I'm required of something different. However, my values shouldn't change. So finding myself, I realized it wasn't just about embracing my culture, embracing my personality, but it was really about embracing my values. When you have a strong foundation, when you have strong values, it's really, really hard for people around you to influence how you feel about yourself because you're so strong in your values that you also feel because everything like the way you see your culture, the way you speak, your personality is all led by your values. You feel so strong about it that you just can't be shaken and you even don't try and hide anymore. Sometimes I even hear myself speaking, I'm like, wow, like I'm so happy that I've got to the point where I can really just have a self-reflection with myself and really say, wow, like I've reached a point in life where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not perfect. I don't have a perfect personality, but at the same time, I love the values that I have. And these values are something that when you become confident with them, you also don't hide them. So, for example, as I said, like I'm a woman of faith, right? Even when I go to interviews for jobs, for internships and stuff like that, I don't hide that. I don't hide that because what I do is led by that, is led by my faith. The way I speak is led by my faith. This is why I think it's really, really important that as we're trying to find ourselves, as we're trying to be authentic to ourselves, as we're trying to be real to ourselves, we really examine our values and why we're doing what we're doing. We shouldn't do things because of what the world is saying, because the world is always changing. Society is changing, values are changing, moral values are changing. It's always changing. And if you put the way you see yourself based on just what the world is doing, you're going to find yourself that you're confused. You're going to find yourself full of insecurities because you're not going to know if you're going left or right. And yeah, so just make sure that you set your moral values there. So then in any circumstance, that's what you use to examine anything. If someone tells you something, use your values to examine them. Are they telling me because they're against my values? Or are they telling me because they want something, like they're giving me a constructive advice? Because if someone is giving you a constructive advice, you're gonna know based on if it's actually helping you to get nearer to your values. So it's been a journey. I'm just 20, but it's just I think it's just been such an important thing for me to really understand that about myself and walk with confidence with that and being empowered by that. Yeah. And also, like, I think sometimes we find it challenging to do that, because that means that sometimes we need to cut our friends, we need to change environment, we need to be uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, it's all worth it. If you're able to sit alone and enjoy staying alone and look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with yourself, that means that you're in the right track, because you're being authentic to yourself. And what we say is, like, be always yourself, be always authentic. Make sure that everything that you're doing represents you, and make sure that you do everything with like a good intention, with good heart, because when you do things just to please other people, you might not see it now, it's gonna make you feel insecure all the time, because you always be waiting for feedback from people before you're happy. But when you actually do things and you're happy and confident of who you are, yes, you can receive advice, but it will never change the way you see yourself. And I think it's so important, especially in the society that we are in, that we are empowered by our difference and we stop to try and fit in. Like, I think the biggest thing that you can achieve, especially now at a young age, is getting to a point where you're empowered by your difference and you create a space for yourself and you don't try to fit in. Use that energy that you're trying to fit in to be yourself, because when you're authentic to yourself, you also understand your purpose and you also understand what you've been called to do. And imagine how much joy comes walking with purpose. So yeah, don't give up. Keep going on that journey. It's not gonna always be easy, but it's definitely gonna be worth it. So keep going. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that you definitely feel encouraged to just continue to pursue that journey of just finding yourself and continue to be authentic to yourself with confidence and boldness. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Ciao, ciao.